please. Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, Archer parents, and thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, albeit online and not in person at the upper school as we would have hoped. But the most important thing, of course, is that we are all together. I hope you're well. I hope that you're looking after yourselves, and I hope that a young person has come home with lots of enjoyment and tales to tell about their first week at the upper school. We have certainly been so proud of them, because in amongst this transition to upper school, they as a year group have faced a real challenge, a real sadness that we are all struggling still to come to terms with. I've been so impressed and so touched by the way in which they have looked after one another, by the way in which you parents have been working with us over some really complex issues and concerns. But please know that your child's well-being and the well-being of each one of our precious students is the most important thing. And if at any point you are worried about how your child is coping and managing at the moment in light of the very sad news we've had as a community, but also more broadly, I would ask please that you don't hesitate to reach out to your child's tutor, to Miss Alcock or to myself. But there is a range of very careful support in school that large numbers of children have already accessed, but we would always want to be able to put that support in place. We will continue to take each step very carefully as we best support your young people through this difficult time, but know that we do that well by doing it all together, and your dialogue with us is really very special, and I'm very grateful for the way in which you are working with us at this hard time. But coupled with this sadness and this challenge that we have been tackling as a community, this loss that we have been tackling, your young person remarkably has been able to make a start to the beginning of their new academic year, but a new academic year with a great deal of difference about it. They are in a completely new building, they're wearing a new uniform, they have quite a lot of new teachers, and they are following a very different curriculum. And they have coped with all of that so well. And we have been genuinely impressed by their maturity, by their effort and application to their studies, and how seriously they are responding to the opportunities that are around them. And they deserve a really huge pat on the back for that. We are incredibly impressed with them, and we really look forward to seeing what it is that they are going to achieve moving forward, with home and school working carefully together to support them. Now, this afternoon, of course, you have already met with your child's form tutor, and we're very aware that often that is the first time you may have met them. I know many of you would have spoken to them on the phone over the course of the last week, but the form tutors are often new at the start of year 10. So I hope that that contact has been beneficial to you, and that they've shared some really key information about school life. But the purpose this afternoon is to revisit and move through and on with some of the information we shared with you back in June about the transition to upper school. And that is chiefly around the curriculum, around assessment, around homework, around beginning to think beyond Archer, and what your child's aspirations may be, and how we can best give them a great and deep enough range of opportunities at school, quality of learning at school, that they really can and do everything that they may wish to do. They might not even know what all of that is yet. So I'm very pleased this afternoon to be joined by Miss Alcock, very well known to you as your child's head of year, but also by Mr. Oakley, my assistant head, who leads on data and systems. And both of those colleagues will focus on really core and key aspects of life in year 10, but also how life in year 10 very much is a stepping stone to be enjoyed, a stepping stone to be really focused on in terms of depth of learning and experience, so that we are very well placed for year 11 and what comes beyond that as well. The last couple of years have been incredibly uncertain, with huge amounts of disruption affecting all young people and all walks of life, but in school in particular. We are at this stage very much expecting that your young person will take formal GCSE examinations and in the summer of 2023, and we are working towards that at the moment in terms of their programme of study. We will take the approach that we took all through last year with our outgoing Year 11 that served them and the school so well, which is to be thorough and careful so that we can be flexible and adapt, should we have to changing demands from government and exam boards. But I wonder what it is your child may have said to you about school over the last week. I hope they've talked to you about how they're feeling. I hope they may have talked to you about the sadness that we've experienced as a school. Please do keep trying to get them to talk to you. I know it's harder when they have maybe reached some of that Kevin the teenager stage. But I hope maybe they may also have talked to you about upper school, about the new teachers, the new curriculum, how it feels to be here, because it really has been a physical and academic transition period. You will know that this phase now that your child has entered at the Archer Academy within our Archer graduate model is called our Archer Scholar stage. And this is really about enabling our young people through these next two crucial and very special years to grow into young adults, ready to embrace their futures. So really important and critical time where their hard work will be essential, but it will also really pay off. Everything that they do over the coming weeks, months and years will be a prize worth having at the end. Upper school is a very close-knit community. Your child is in a year group that's already very tightly knit, and I think you'll see that grow over the coming months. But by working together, they really can build that environment of success. Relationships with teachers also tend to shift and change during this year, and that's really special, mainly based on that real subject specialism and the real subject passion of the option subjects that your child may have chosen. The enrichment programme, which of course formerly such a strength of our school and suffered through COVID, comes front and centre, and your child will already have made their Archer Plus choices for their annual courses ready to start next week. And then of course they will have the choice to choose their termly rotating choice in a couple of weeks' time. But we hope that our Archer Plus model really does enable our young people to be a step ahead of everybody else, particularly through those additional GCSE courses that they can take. For example, further maths, citizenship, religious studies, courses that children really benefited from historically, alongside things such as Duke of Edinburgh Sports Leader. But our Archer scholars really are the leaders of our school, modelling the Archer way, role models to younger people, and hopefully beginning to take a real part in shaping both the school and the wider world around them. Now, I hope that context is helpful, healthy to hear as well. Our expectations, but ambitions, but also care for your young person is so pivotal to all that we do. A wonderful question I would like you to ask them, perhaps in that special moment when you're driving along in the car and somehow they suddenly seem to start talking to you, is what are their dreams? What are their dreams for themselves and their ambitions for themselves? Because we can help them to make anything possible with your support. And it would be wonderful to begin to articulate with them what some of those dreams might be. Now, I'm going to hand over to Miss Alcock now, and she will then hand over to Miss Oakley. Miss Alcock will, of course, touch on our relationship with our sixth form college Woodhouse and also Barnet and Southgate. But just a reminder, parents, that we're in the incredibly privileged position that we work in partnership with Woodhouse College, outstanding sixth form college just up the road in Frome Barnet. In fact, top 4 nationally this summer for its GCSE results and results of students going to Russell Group and Oxford universities. Our young people are flourishing there. But of course, the real advantage is that our young people are given places at the head of the queue. So as long as your young person meets the entry requirements, they are guaranteed a place. And that's why so many of our young people are there, thriving in that environment that builds so nicely from Archer. So just begin to have in your mind about the opportunities that Woodhouse may afford your young person, alongside those of Barnet and Southgate College and other places. But as I said, Miss Alcock will touch on that, and we will continue to revisit that this year as your child gets opportunities to visit colleges and meet people from different institutions. I look forward to being in touch a little bit later, and I'm going to hand over to Miss Alcock now.
Yeah, go ahead, Katie. Katie?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, and I am very pleased to see have seen all the children returning back to school and getting to see the students as they start year 10 in the upper school. I am going to go through some information with you, and some of that has been shared already by Miss Harrison, and also I know your tutors earlier this evening. So what are our priorities for year 10? The priority for this academic year is the well-being of staff and students. This must be central and the driving priority for our year group. What I would ask and have asked students and staff in assemblies over the last week is that students are following instructions, they're being sensible and paying attention to signage. So our aims for year 10. As a year group, I would hope and I'm looking for a successful transition to upper school. Students are already demonstrating this so far, and in particular today when we've had quite a wet day, the students have adapted and responded well to staying indoors with us. I'd ask that students take responsibility of their learning, and we'll talk a little bit more about timetables and choices and how that process is working over the course of the next couple of weeks. Something that I've been saying to the year group over and over is great first impressions. We're actually lucky to have a lot of new staff join us this year, and in particular in this building with the year 10 students. So great first impressions is something that I'd like the students to secure with their new teachers. Students are working with purpose. They are actively engaging with their subjects, and they're enjoying the subjects they've chosen to take through into year 10 and 11. I'd ask that students are secure in their GCSE choices, and this is something that I know some students and parents have contacted me about over the last couple of days, and hopefully tutors explained about the GCSE choices and any changes, but please do feel free to email me if you do have questions regarding those. In year 10, students have access to a personalised learning approach, so every student is able to tailor their timetable and their curriculum to them. And I know Miss Harrison touched upon the Archer Plus programme, and there are lots of opportunities that students can get involved in to make their year 10 and year 11 very much theirs. We're working towards the students becoming an Archer graduate, and that will be when students reach the end of year 11 and are looking to move on to their further education. This year, as a school, we have launched students and staff pushing for that extra 10%. So I've been asking students already what they think they can do to just push themselves that little bit further, whether that is academically, extracurricular, or perhaps something else at home with revision or homework. So that is something that the year group are really going to be getting hold of over the next few weeks. There are core principles for the school and our year group this year, and we are looking at 4 different headings here, and they're academic excellence, aspiration, mental health and wellbeing, and equity. What I would ask is that students are realising their potential and utilising the new opportunities available to them. That also does include a more rigorous assessment process with core subjects, and where students will actually have the opportunity, and parents, to attend our core subjects evening. Students are focusing on their own journey through year 10, so they're thinking ahead to year 11, and actually all the tutor groups this last week have made a tutor board with the aim of aspiration and thinking of year 11 and beyond. So they've been really lovely to see, and that links very much to our work experience, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Mental health and wellbeing, I'd like to ensure that we build a supportive and resilient mindset of all the students, and ensure that all students feel well supported throughout this academic year, and that we signpost support. I know Miss Harrison talked about that earlier, but if students do at any point need any support, please do not hesitate to contact myself or your student's form tutor. Equity, to ensure every student has the tools they need to achieve their goals. So our Archer pathway, you can see here, we're just starting. We're in year 10 and we're working all the way through the year 10 journey into year 11 and then into our aspiration of further education. Through the course of year 10, we've got lots to look forward to, but in particular, we've got work experience and we'll be looking at that throughout. But students hopefully have spent a bit of time over the summer thinking and talking with you about this, and then that will be built throughout the lifelong learning with the cohort. It is a gear shift in year 10. So as we go through, the students now are studying 3 hours per option subject, so it is a little bit more. They may become a bit more tired because they might be doing 2 or 3 hours of a practical subject that they haven't done previously. But it is that gear shift, so we're wanting students to push themselves and to throw themselves into everything. I know with this there has been a change of grouping in maths and English, and the idea here is to get the best out of every student in every lesson that they have on their timetable. So what can you expect from us during year 10? We have more confidence in projected grades, and I know when I taught GCSE PE today, the students were talking to me about grades. They're really wanting to know what the kind of expectations are, how they get the top grades of the 7 to 9s. Parents and students will receive reports showing projected performance against targets with colour coding, and this is something that you had in year 9 and continues throughout year 10 and 11. Subject-specific revision events, so there will be lots going on, and students will need to keep an eye out on the newsletter and tutor notices to make sure that they know when they can attend certain events. We are going to look to introduce some weekend and half-term booster and revision classes, so they will be available to year 10 across points of this year. There will be a core subjects evening, and the dates have been shared by your tutors, and I've also got those a little bit further along. Learning Review Day, this will be really important for us to continue to build the opportunities and the learning of your children, looking at key targets of subjects and ensuring students are making the progress that we and they would like. Coursework support leading up to fixed deadlines, so I'm aware that some subjects start coursework in year 10, so all the departments are really supportive and they set these out at the start of this year, so students know when to expect work to be set and then submitted. Study hall, there is study hall available and the timetable is being kind of tweaked, but that is available for students to attend in the computer room where they can access their online homework areas and then do some work with those. Revision support and guidance, we will again in lifelong learning have focuses on revision and enabling students to plan their revision and how best to do that and tailoring it so it's a personalised approach for each student. As we've touched upon, students have access to Archer Plus, and today in tutor time we did ask students to have a look again at their options because there have been some additional Archer Plus activities put in, year-long enrichments, and students need to make those choices by the end of tomorrow. We then look at careers, work experience and next step guidance, where we will do work with Woodhouse, Barnet and Southgate College across the course of the year. So, is your child best prepared for year 10? I'd like to say that I think most of them are. I've seen them around school, they look ready, but I would just ask you to check in, that students do know their timetable, that they know what rooms they are, whether they're in a different building or a different location for a subject, that they are creating new working habits. It's very different this year. So students are perhaps coming straight home, they're doing their homework, or they're maybe looking at their notes and doing some note taking, or looking at their revision guides if they've got some of those revision packs at home. Uniform, I know tutors will have gone through that, but ensuring uniform is absolutely perfect and we're meeting the basics. Equipment, students are coming to school and every lesson with the right equipment. Textbooks, if parents are looking to buy textbooks or revision books, I know they are all online in terms of what subjects recommend. Please do, if you are happy to purchase those, they're additional tool for your child to use at home. Please do ensure students know their login details. So all the work is, all student work is being set via Show My Homework or Microsoft Teams, and it's really important students know how to access that. And if they don't, that they let their tutor know, and we can get our IT team to send them new login details. Enrichment choices, making the right choices for them. So students need to ensure that they are making their enrichment choice based on what they are thinking for year 11 and beyond. Homework, there will be 1 hour of homework per week per subject. So looking at a homework timetable, I'd recommend. We'll look at that in tutor time, but working out what subject is perhaps normally left to the last minute and bringing that to the beginning of the week so that that subject is done first and then the other subjects are worked around that. Students being punctual to school and lessons, I know it is new and different, but making sure that students are up, ready in their lessons so that they're getting the most out of their subjects and teachers. Attendance, we're looking for 97%, sorry, as a minimum, and I am aware that may be tricky depending on if children have to isolate, but with that we do have our remote work being set, so please do make sure that students are checking that if they happen to have to isolate at home. So parents, are you ready to support your child through year 10? I would ask that you know key dates and deadlines, and these have been shared with you by your tutors. I've got them along the side there, but please do make a note of those, put them in your diary. I would ask that you attend meetings and events, and there's lots of events and meetings going on, and it is really important that you attend with your child to ensure that you know what is going on as well as your child does. Make sure you're embedding good routines at home, whether that's to do with the use of phones and iPads and laptops and PlayStations, or whether it's to do with sleeping habits and diet. And I would really strongly urge that you kind of start that now so that students continue that throughout the course of year 10. Getting the basics right, so uniform equipment, please do. If the students do not have the right equipment or uniform, support your children by purchasing those, or if you're having any problems with that, you let myself or your tutor, the student's tutor know, and we can support if you need. Using online tools to show my homework and class charts, and again making sure that parents check those to see if any work's been set up, set for students. Please do ensure your child has access to school email and Microsoft Teams, because they are the tools that will be used throughout the course of the year. Wider learning opportunities at home, so are there opportunities that can be taken by children at home, and then do let us know what they are. And reading at home, we've got our pastoral reading project, which I know your tutors talked about, but again ensuring that we're embedding reading throughout the course of the week. So I am just going to talk a little bit about work experience, and we have now introduced a deadline date of Friday the 3rd of December. Students will be going through information with their tutors, but what this will mean is students will have to complete their form and submit it on Friday the 3rd of December. And if students are unable to do this, it will mean that we will, as a school, will have to work with the borough to kind of then allocate students to a placement. So it's really important that students look to explore what they might want to do and start to see what might be available for them to do that. The date is for the work experience is week commencing the 7th of March. Now, I would just like to raise at the moment we fully intend for work experience to take place. However, depending on how things are with COVID, it may well be that we have to review or adapt, but at the moment our plan is to run that in March, but we will obviously let parents know if there are any changes to that. I know tutors touched upon this, but this is our weekly plan, and again this is a chance where your children will have chance to touch in with their tutors and myself, so if they do have any questions or concerns with their learning, then that is an opportunity and a time that students can check in there. And that, I think I'm now handing over to Mr. Oakley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Alcock. Okay, so as I've been introduced, I'm all about the data and the systems and the grades. So I'm going to share some slides as well. There they are, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about what the grades mean. I have shown this information to you as parents before, but it doesn't hurt to emphasise some of the key points again. So we are in a 9-to-1 grading system now. Some of you may still be used to A star to C if this is your first child going through, but we have had this grading system for 4 or 5 years now. Ofquer, the exams regulator, has promised to ensure that students are not disadvantaged from one year to the next. So the same proportion of students get the same sets of grades. However, with the last couple of years of COVID situation, that has affected things somewhat. But our understanding is that by the time your child goes through their GCSEs, we should be back to where we were back in 2019 with proportions of grades, so they shouldn't be disadvantaged from that point onwards. So just to recap a bit on what the grades actually mean in terms of the numbers. So grade 4 is a standard pass. Grade 5 is still a pass, but a strong pass. Grade 6 will probably be needed to access a subject at A level. So, for example, economics or science or so on. Well, science is not a good example, but that is considered to be the gateway grade to study the subject beyond A level. When we set our targets, we don't go below a grade 4 because we want every student to aspire to pass their GCSEs. But it is worth just emphasising again that nationally this is a legal requirement that if a student doesn't get a grade 4 in English and maths, they will need to keep on studying those until they do whatever they do once they leave Archer Academy. So whatever college course or apprenticeship, they are then required to continue to study and take those 2 GCSEs until they get a grade 4. Grade 9 is the top, and that's considered to be the new gold standard. That's the top end of the old A star grades. If you're aiming for the upper tier of universities, the Russell Group universities, then 7, 8s and 9s on GCSEs is a good place to start. If you're going for the very best, as in Oxford and Cambridge, then you're looking at 8s and 9s to give you that springboard into A levels. The EBAC qualification is something which is automatically awarded to any student who achieves a grade 5 in English, literature or language, maths, science, history or geography, and a modern language, which for us will be French and Spanish. So if a student achieves a grade 5 in those 5 subjects, then they automatically get awarded the EBAC. Now, we don't know in the future what the EBAC is going to mean, but it's been heavily promoted by the government as a marker for universities and employers. So we design our options process around the subjects that will allow the students to achieve that qualification. And then just to mention that vocational courses, that we have a number of vocational courses now where the students are awarded slightly differently in terms of pass, merit and distinction, but they do carry a grade equivalency, which is listed on the screen there. So, for example, a pass in a vocational course is considered to be a grade 4, a level 2 pass, that is, and so on. So they do carry a significant grade equivalence when students are applying to colleges and so on. So our target grades have been with you now for a year, so they've appeared on every report which you've had sent home to you. I'll just say again that the targets are based on Fisher Family Trust. This is a statistical organisation who look at the grades achieved by students like yours over the last 5 years nationally in those particular subjects. So depending on a child's SAT scores from primary school in reading and maths, that will then dictate what we can expect from that child as a target, and we benchmark ourselves against the top 20% of schools in the country. So we make sure our students have aspirational targets which can really push them. But it's important to note that this target is really a statistical target, and it's based on students similar nationwide. And we believe that those targets should never be limiting, and with hard work, students can often beat those grades, as it quite often happens at Archer Academy. So we never want you to feel that a target is limiting a student. And if you feel a target isn't high enough and you want to have a discussion, then please do open that discussion up with your teachers, and we should be encouraging higher targets to really push the students, as it says on the last point there. Now, I'm not going to go through this graphic again. I went through this just explaining how the targets are arrived at, but the key thing just to reiterate here that these 2 grades here are the ones which appear on progress reports that are sent home to you. So the target grade, which is based on the Key Stage 2 SAT scores, and then what we think they're actually going to get, the working towards grade, and the colouring indicates how close they are towards that target grade. So for James here, we think he's going to get a 5 just about, and because his target is a 5, we would colour that green on the report. If he's 1 grade off, then we colour that orange. But if it's more than a grade off, then we colour it pink, just to indicate, some significant adjustment is required there, and a step up in effort and application, whatever it takes, to get James closer to his target grade. So the colours are there to help you make sense of the grades for that particular student, to push them to get closer to their targets. So in terms of the journey through year 10 and year 11, quite a number of the courses still have quite a bit of coursework. So those ones particularly, your child will be probably starting coursework possibly in year 10, maybe in year 11, depends on the subject, but that coursework can be quite significant, particularly in the creative subjects. It's worth remembering that all content studied from the start of year 9, that's when we started these courses, could potentially be examined at the end of year 11 in May 23. So all that work done in year 9 isn't to be thrown away. That's very much what they need to be revising as they go to the next set of assessments. Most students at Archer study 9 GCSEs. So if you imagine that some of these have 3 written exams, they could be studying 25 to 30 exams. That should say a 5-week period. So it's quite an intensive period for them, and we need to work hard to prepare them in terms of stamina and confidence, and we do that through our formal exam sessions. All exams are still handwritten, there's no computer-based exams, so therefore exam technique and recall of a memory of that year 9 all the way through to the end of year 11, all that content needs to be recalled and remembered, so there's some techniques we can teach the students as they get better at revising. So like I've already said, we have formal exam weeks and mock exams to build that stamina and confidence, so that when they go into their final exams, they know exactly what it's going to feel like, and they can approach that with confidence. And the specifications obviously differ by exam board, and they're all on the school website. You can see the exam boards we use, and you can go and have a look at the specifications if you choose to understand what the students are expected to cover. Just moving on then, just some key dates. Miss Alcock's already mentioned quite a few of these, but it doesn't hurt to go through them again. So there's 2 significant assessment fortnights which sit outside of the main exam periods, where your child will have a couple of weeks where they're probably going to do assessments in most subjects. So there's one coming up starting on the 11th of October, and another one just after Christmas. The work experience has already been mentioned, the 7th of March. The 1 year to go exams, these are the significant exams for your child because it marks 1 year to go before they go into their real exams the following year. So that is a formal exam period of 2 weeks using the sports hall, and a very sort of real feel to what the final exam is going to be like. There will be some final end of year assessments for some subjects at the back end of the academic year as well. The Learning Review Day dates are published and should be familiar to you, I hope. There's a course subjects evening on the 17th of November. I really recommend going to that or attending, because that gives you access to the heads of English, Maths and Science, and they will talk you through exactly what skills are important and how you can support your child in those important subjects. There's a vocational evening on the 12th of January, and that's an opportunity to hear about colleges and different vocational courses beyond Archer Academy, and the Parents' Evening has been mentioned as well on the 8th of June. And then into year 11, just briefly, another assessment week in October. There'll be a choices evening where we can talk through the different options available. Full mock exam session in December just before Christmas, and further core mock exams in March. EBAC exams, I should say, in the March period. Our Archer Plus changes a little bit to be less about enriching and more about academic focus, because that's important for year 11. And of course, a full range of subject-based interventions, including Archer Accelerate, which is our weekends, half-term and holiday package to support certain subjects. So that is a sort of walkthrough of what year 10 and year 11 is going to feel like for your child going forward. Now, I'm not going to go through these next 3 slides here, but these are posters which have been put up on the wall in every single classroom, and I'm sure Miss Alcock will send these home as well. So these just give reminders to students about the requirements to get into different types of course. So there's one for A-level, there's one for different particular subjects. So for example, science usually requires grade 7s at GCSE. and then also some BTEC and vocational courses and what sort of grades are required to get onto those types of courses as well. So they're there in every single classroom just to remind the students of what they're aiming for through year 10 and year 11. And I'm sure Miss Alcock will send these home to you so you can have a look at them as well. OK, that's all from me, so I shall hand back to Miss Harrison. Thank you.
Well, Archer parents, thank you. I've got no doubt there's been a few gulps along the way there as we've realised what our young people have ahead of them. How are we already talking about work experience and coursework and exam weeks? But all of these things are so carefully structured for your child to ensure that they have the very best, that they have everything that they deserve, so that they truly can confidently realise their potential and realise those dreams. So as we draw to a close this afternoon, please do ensure any questions that you've asked are in the Q&A function so that Ms Alcock can gather those together along with any of the questions asked in the tutor session, so that we can ensure you have got all the information that you need to be as informed as possible about this critical stage in your child's education. What about from me? What is it that I want and look forward to with your young person? Well, it's the same as it has always been, that they make themselves proud, that they work hard, they do their best, they look after themselves and one another. They've been doing that so well in the past couple of weeks in those adverse of circumstances. That they make you proud, their parents, that you look at them and feel that parental pride, and that they make me proud of taking every opportunity, throwing themselves into all that they do, that they model and mirror the Archer way and our school rule of working hard and being kind to themselves and to others. I've seen so much of that in the last couple of weeks, and I look forward to even more of it as we move forwards, as we look after them, we work together, home and school, to secure the very best for your very precious child. Archer parents, thank you. I can't wait to see you in person very soon, but please do continue that very strong dialogue with us so that we can put your child front and centre. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.